Ever hopped in the shower and thought,
Man, I wish I had a time tunnel to go back and relive that moment.
well,
Today's deep dive is for you.
we're rewinding back to 1966.
To a show that let viewers do just that.
Irwin Allen's The Time Tunnel,
Irwin Allen
the mastermind behind Lost in Space and Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea.
really knew how to capture that sci-fi magic.
He did.
And with the time tunnel, he tapped into something universally fascinating.
Time travel. But what's interesting here is that this show wasn't a quick flop, as many people believe.
That's a common misconception.
It actually did quite well in its time slot.
Okay, so set the scene for us.
It's 1966, Star Trek is about to explode onto the scene, but sci-fi is already a thing, right?
Absolutely.
Sci-fi was captivating audiences.
And not just with escapist adventures.
There was a real hunger for knowledge,
For using these futuristic concepts to explore history and science.
which is where the time tunnel comes in.
Two scientists
Trapped traveling through time.
landing smack dab in the middle of major historical events.
Titanic, Pearl Harbor.
Even Custer's last stand.
Talk about a history lesson.
What set the time tunnel apart was its dedication to historical accuracy.
Of course, there was some dramatic license.
But the creators went to great lengths to ground the show in real events and research.
For example, in the episode End of the World.
They meticulously recreated the panic surrounding the 1910 approach of Halley's Comet.
Even using actual newspaper headlines from the time.
This commitment to historical detail was pretty rare for a sci-fi show in the 60s,
It's like they were giving viewers a front row seat to history.
while keeping them on the edge of their seats with the adventure.
And we can't forget about that iconic control room.
While our time-tossed scientists were dodging Roman soldiers or outrunning a volcanic eruption.
Always one step ahead of disaster.
Those two.
Yeah.
There was this whole other layer of drama unfolding back at headquarters,
The frantic team,
led by the ever-so-serious General Kirk.
desperately trying to bring them home.
It added this constant tension.
This ticking clock that went beyond the immediate danger our heroes faced in the past.
It's a storytelling technique that really resonates even today,
That makes you wonder,
if they were always trying to get back to the present.
did they ever really experience the past? You know?
That's a really interesting question.
And it highlights one of the show's recurring themes.
The human desire to control time versus the humbling reality of its power.
Okay.
Let's unpack this idea of control a bit more. We have a listener who wrote in about his childhood memory of the time tunnel Viewmaster reels.
Which got me thinking.
I remember those.
The excitement of clicking through those reels.
Seeing those images come to life.
Exactly.
It was like having your own portable time machine.
But even with those glimpses of the past,
you were still in control.
you could choose to move on to the next exciting scene or linger on a moment.
Which makes me think
Maybe that's part of what drew viewers to the time tunnel. The illusion of control in a world that often feels anything but.
it's a fascinating parallel.
The characters in the show are at the mercy of the time tunnel,
Flung into unpredictable situations.
just as we often feel in the face of life's twists and turns.
But the viewers
Like with those Viewmaster reels.
had a sense of agency.
A way to engage with these moments in time on their own terms. It's a brilliant observation,
And it speaks to the enduring power of the show.
even with its campy special effects.
The episodic nature.
The time tunnel tapped into these bigger questions
About a relationship with the past.
and the allure of the unknown.
And it did it with a certain charm.
Right.
Oh.
You couldn't help but root for Tony and Doug.
Even if they did seem to land in hot water every week.
They were like the audience surrogates.
Experiencing these historical events with a mix of awe and terror.
1 minute they're rubbing elbows with King Arthur.
The next, they're fleeing from a T-Rex.
Which brings us to the big question, with its captivating premise and dedicated fan base.
Did the time tunnel only last one season?
Well,
As we touched on earlier.
it wasn't for lack of viewers.
The show had decent ratings.
The
And
reason
it's almost comical in hindsight.
is that ABC decided to replace it with a Western.
A Western
You're kidding.
in the late 60s.
What was the thinking there?
It's one of those head-scratching network decisions.
And that makes you wonder if they were peering into a crystal ball.
Or maybe a cracked Viewmaster.
The replacement
The
show
Legend of Custer.
actually bombed in the rating
And was criticized for its historically inaccurate...
and sanitized portrayal of Custer.
Wow. Talk about irony.
Especially considering the time tunnel often tackled historical events with more nuance.
Like in Massacre?
The episode that dealt with Custer's last stand,
Precisely.
it's a fascinating contrast.
The time tunnel
Despite being a sci-fi adventure,
didn't shy away from the complexities of history.
it showed the human cost of conflict.
even in a show about time travel. It's a great example of how even entertainment can spark important conversations.
And make us think critically about the past.
Absolutely.
And despite its premature cancellation,
The Time Tunnel has had a lasting impact,
it's become a cult classic.
inspiring everything from novels and comics to
Believe it or not.
a pinball machine.
Wait.
A time tunnel pinball machine.
Now that's something I need to see.
It's true.
Although,
There was a bit of legal trouble with Bally Manufacturing over the rights.
it seems even time travel couldn't outrun copyright law.
That's hilarious.
But it goes to show how the show has resonated with people over the years.
And there have been a few attempts to revive it.
Haven't there?
3. A 2002 pilot for Fox.
Sadly passed over.
And a 2006 attempt for the Sci-Fi Channel.
Even with Irwin Allen's wife
Sheila Matthews Allen.
involved,
But alas.
neither materialized into a full series.
It's a shame.
But maybe it's for the best.
Sometimes those reboots just can't recapture the magic of the original. True. Sometimes it's best to leave.
Those classics untouched. But
It does make you wonder,
what if the time tunnel had continued?
what kind of adventures would be having today?
Now,
That's a fascinating thought experiment.
imagine them navigating the Cold War.
Witnessing the civil rights movement firsthand.
Maybe even hitching a ride on Apollo 11.
Can you imagine? One episode, they're facing down the Cuban Missile Crisis,
The next, they're at Woodstock.
dodging peace signs, and probably more than just peace signs.
And with today's special effects,
Those historical recreations would be mind-blowing.
think about the possibilities for exploring different perspectives.
For bringing history to life in a way that simply wasn't possible in the 1960s.
It could be both entertaining.
And thought-provoking.
They could tackle complex social and political events.
Challenging viewers to consider the nuances of history.
The different sides to every story.
Absolutely.
The time tunnel
With its blend of adventure and historical intrigue.
could be a powerful tool for sparking those important conversations.
For reminding us that history isn't just a collection of dates and battles.
It's about people
Choices.
and the ripple effects of those choices across time.
It makes you realize
Even a show about time travel can offer a deeper understanding of ourselves.
in the world around us.
So-
While we may never get that time tunnel reboot,
We can still appreciate the original for what it was.
a glimpse into the past,
A flight of fancy,
and a reminder that some stories never really fade away.
even if they only lasted a season.
Well said.
It's a testament to the enduring power of a good story.
Well told.
And who knows?
Maybe someday.
Someone will find a way to reopen the time tunnel.
And introduce a whole new generation to its unique blend of history and imagination.
Until then.
We can always revisit those classic episodes and imagine the possibilities. The next time you find yourself daydreaming about hopping in a time machine.
Remember the time tunnel?
A show that dared to explore the past in doing so.
And revealed timeless truths about ourselves and our fascination with the unknown.
And on that note,
We'll step back into our own time machine
otherwise known as the recording booth.
and prepare for our next deep dive.
Until then,
Keep exploring
keep questioning.
and keep those imaginations running wild.